not overstate the importance of the pandemic here because, and let's go back to the primary election in Indiana, where the Secretary of State's office and Governor Holcomb gave people the option to vote by mail with no excuse, meaning you did not have to say, I'm going to be absent on election day or I'm not able to vote in person early for this reason. And they did so because of the extent of the pandemic. Even though the pandemic is arguably at a higher level now, it's impacting more people. We have more cases. Deaths are back up. We did not have no excuse absentee voting this time around for the general election. We were one of only a handful of states to not have no excuse absentee voting. And yet, it seems like tens of thousands of Hoosiers found some excuse to vote by mail because more than 500,000 people in Indiana voted by mail this time, and more than 80,000 of them here in Marion County alone, or in Marion County alone. So mail voting was up dramatically because of the pandemic, but there's just seems to be, whether it's the presidential race, whether it's some of the local races like the 5th District congressional race, which I know we're going to be talking about all day today, and there are some state legislative races that are kind of under the radar, but that could help change the face of the General Assembly once we get to that session once again, that are really driving a lot of turnout. Hamilton County turnout way up. They almost matched their 2016 numbers as far as voter turnout. Hancock County was the same way. But really, all of the counties surrounding Indianapolis, Johnson County had a good number. Hendricks County had a good number. It really didn't seem to matter. Everyone was much more interested in getting out there and making their voice heard. And it's going to be really interesting to see what we see at the polls actually today, whether or not so many people voted early that we might not see as much turnout at the polls today. I know in Marion County that does not seem to be the case, but we are, regardless of what happens today, I think we're going to see our highest turnout in quite some time.
And Ray, let's talk about Marion County in particular. We have the numbers that we're going to put on our screen of the early voting numbers, and we're right here in Marion County, and as you mentioned, they were pretty substantial. As you mentioned, Marion County, the northern part, they're part of that 5th congressional district that's getting a lot of people out to the polls, it seems like today. But talk to us a little bit about the counting these ballots. We know that here in Marion County, they can only process so many a day. So we know that we're not going to get our full results tonight, especially even right here in Marion County, because they just can't process that number that quickly.
Right. In particular with the mail ballots, the early ballots, the early votes that were cast in person, there were more than 130,000 in Marion County cast in person. And we were over 213,000 total. So that's a lot of mail ballots. Now, we were told by the Marion County Clerk's office that they could only count up to 40,000 mail ballots per day. So that's 2 full days of nonstop counting alone with all of those mail ballots coming in. But then you have to factor in the early in-person votes, which of course will be counted. They were tallied electronically in Marion County, as will the votes today at the 187 vote centers that Marion County is using. So that count should go a little more quickly, but Marion County traditionally counts a little slower simply because of its sheer size. It is the biggest county in the state. So Marion County's results, while we may have a lot of results before the end of the day, we certainly will not have complete results probably until the end of this week at the most. Now, what difference will that make in the 5th District race remains to be seen. Depends on how close that race is in the rest of the 5th District, because the 5th District, of course, encompasses Hamilton County, good chunk of Madison County, Tipton County to the north, and some rural areas north of Indianapolis. So a lot could be riding on those votes that are going to be counted late in Marion County. But I hate to say that we're in wait and see mode, but that's really what we are. We really don't know what kind of impact this is going to have because, as far as Marion County especially, these number of early votes, this number of mail-in votes is unprecedented in any election up until now.
And Ray, while I still have you here, let's talk real quick about problems at the polling places. We know from Russell Hollis here at the Marion County Clerk's office, he says that they had about 10 sites this morning that they didn't have keys to their voting machines. That slowed things down. Some viewers complaining to us that some of the polling sites that were supposed to open at 6 a.m. like everywhere else, they didn't even open until 7 a.m. I had a viewer write to me say, does this mean that the polling places will be open an extra hour? And as we've been talking here, that was part of a court ruling recently about who can request to keep those polling places open later today. Do you suspect anything like that will happen, or do you think we're going to be wrapping up here at 6 o'clock?
I guess it depends on whether that truly, when it happens that early in the day, and let's be real here, that's not that unusual to see a few polling places have some problems at the beginning of the day. The question is, and the question the Marion County Election Board has to answer is, did that ultimately impact someone's right to vote? When this year, again, things are different in Marion County. They have 187 vote centers where anyone who lives in Marion County can vote. So they could easily say, well, you could go to this vote center if you choose. You could go down to Lucas Oil Stadium. You could go to Bankers Life. You could go to Hinkle Fieldhouse. You could go to fire stations over here and there. There are a lot of places where people can vote now. So if it truly impacted someone's right to vote, then the Marion County Election Board could come together. They would have to vote unanimously to go to a judge and say, we need to see if we can keep such and such polling place open a little bit later because we want to make sure everyone is enfranchised. When it happens that early in the day and you have so many vote centers, I would suspect that is less likely. Now, if we had a problem, say at 4:30 this afternoon or 5 o'clock this afternoon, an hour before the polls close, that is an instance that might cause the election board to come together and say, hey, we need to keep this polling location open later because these people have been in line. They may not get to vote. They may not have time to get to another vote center before the polls close. But when it happens at the very beginning of the day like that, it's typically less likely that that particular polling place will be open late.
All right, Ray Steele with WRTV. Thanks so much for taking time to chat with us. I'm sure we'll be talking throughout the day as well, and we appreciate you breaking down and crunching the numbers for us here at WRTV. We'll send you back there to Hancock County to continue to work on our show coming up here at noon. So appreciate you chatting with us today.
Not a problem, Lauren. Thank you.
All right, well, we do want to take a viewer video right now from Eagle Golf Club. This is up in Fishers. Viewer from Johnette Cruz. She actually used to do the traffic here at WRTV, and she tells me that she was in and out 10 minutes, no line. She said it's the easiest thing she's ever done. So we know Hamilton County has been busy for early voters and turnout there. But again, no line up here at this Eagle Golf Club in Fishers this morning. Easy in and out. And we've seen kind of an easy in and out in a lot of places up there in Hamilton County this morning. And speaking of the lines in Marion County that you may run into, we just heard from another viewer that Broad Ripple High School, they were in and out in 12 minutes. So it really seems like it depends where you go today. So if you have time, you may want to shop around if you're looking to vote today. Let's take another look. This is up in northern Marion County from our viewer, Jenny LeBalm. She is in the line at St. Luke's United Methodist Church here, and she says that the lines weren't too bad up there on the north side of town. This is a look inside of the polling place, and you can see that the voting machines there are spread out. This is part of that area where they are voting on the 5th Congressional District. And she tells me that when she was in line, she actually spotted Republican candidate Victoria Spartz outside. She is running for that 5th District congressional seat.